Hey there, welcome to the 412 Canada podcast. Thanks for joining us. My name is Kim Hutchins, and at 412, we are equipping the church for greater influence through serving. 412 is a ministry of Faith Baptist Church in Huntsville, Ontario. We are so excited to be able to continue to equip you through our podcast and YouTube. And today, I'm delighted to bring you Hannah and Ryan Maxson. They've been married for 16 years, and about 3 years ago, Ryan felt the call to ministry and began the process of pursuing pastoral ministry. And in March 2020, he became the pastor of Riverside Baptist Church here in Huntsville. Ryan and Hannah have worked together to bring their church through this season, and today, we're going to chat about the impact of the pandemic on smaller churches and how to navigate through that with love. Let's get started. Hey guys, welcome to 412 Canada. It's so exciting to have you on.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Kim.
Now, we've known each other for a while, and through homeschooling and Hannah from our running days and that, but can you tell everyone who's watching and joining us just a little bit about who you guys are and how you came in to be a pastor at Riverside Baptist in Huntsville?
Wow. Well, it's a privilege to be here. Thanks for having us.
Mm-hmm.
My name's Hannah, as you've already introduced us. But we've been married for just over 16 years.
Yeah.
We've got 3 kids. They are 15, 14, and almost 12. Mm-hmm. And they've been a joy to raise. It's been just a huge part of our lives, obviously. We homeschooled for about 6 years.
Yeah.
The kids are all in public school or high school and Christian school now, and we've been on a journey. It's been a really neat journey.
Yeah. Yeah. So Ryan, you weren't always a pastor, right?
Right.
So.
Right. Yes. So I had my own stonemasonry business before moving to Muskoka, and hooked up with a local contractor up here doing stonework. And then about 3 years ago, we really felt God start to lead us towards pastoral ministry. And so after some not so subtle hints from him, we started also leaning into that, and he led us to Riverside. And,
Right.
Yeah.
Which of all the times to start was end of March 2020, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at that time, so how large was the church?
So Riverside, when we came, was just under 100 people attending regularly, and so we came into it at that season, and really grateful to the Lord because of everything that happened with the pandemic. We saw a lot of growth through families moving from the city to Muskoka. Why not, right? And and so we really have just enjoyed more people being with us and on the mission of Jesus at Riverside. So that's been exciting.
Yeah.
But we started right at that onset
know.
of the pandemic. So that was wild. So Ryan spoke, like, his first role as a pastor was speaking to a camera and then speaking to car windshields for most of this time so far.
Yeah.
It's been really interesting.
Yeah, and how was that for your demographics? You guys are a smaller church, right? And so what is the age of your church? Would you say like the average age would be older?
Yeah, I think the average age was more towards the older side of things. Since then, I think our demographics really represent the community well at this point. Yeah, as you said, families moving up with kids, and so that's been exciting to see that life for sure.
Yeah, and what are some of the challenges with trying to switch to online for an older demographic?
Yeah, so that was really hard. So the first Sunday that I preached was the second Sunday of churches being officially shut down. And so that was my first message, and so thankful for Hannah. She was blessed with the gifts and talents of video editing and producing, and so we were able to make videos together in our house for those first 2 months. But as you mentioned, a lot of our demographic didn't have internet, couldn't use internet, one of those two. And so just a lot of people that we couldn't reach through an online service at our church. So we ended up producing DVDs, and my week looked like making those and delivering those before a Sunday. And that was 2 months. And so when drive-in became an option, we jumped on that. And that was a real good thing for us.
Yeah. How did your congregation respond to that, Hannah?
It was good, but I was just going to say what was really interesting with Ryan doing this pastoral, going to different houses and shut-ins and whatnot, and delivering DVDs and bulletins and whatnot. I mean, he'd come home Sundays with like a jar of preserves and eggs or whatever. It felt like we were living in the 1920s. Like it was really, or 1820s. It was really neat.
Well, it's just a different way to connect, right?
Yeah.
And get to know everybody. Yeah, that's so neat.
But so the drive-in was the next big step for us. As soon as we were able to do that, we jumped on that. And what was really cool in our story, and maybe we'll get into this more later or not, I'm not sure, but the last church we were at, so we've been in smaller churches. We've had leadership roles in a smaller church, and then a bigger church after that, and then a bigger church after that. And then God brought us to Riverside. And what was really neat is that the last church we were at, we did set up and tear down for a long time.
Yeah, that's right.
So going into this pandemic and doing drive-in church was like, God had set that up for us.
Yes.
And he'd given us a lot of the, you know what, this is how this can be done, and things are possible. So I'm really thankful for that. Like God knew and was preparing us for that. To be able to champion that for Riverside was really neat.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then now through the past 2 years, you continued to meet outside. And then have you transitioned inside?
We have. So we met outside for, I guess, probably 17 months through an entire winter.
Which is amazing.
Preaching outside.
Winters are crazy.
Right, but not that bad coming out of working in through the winter in construction. But half an hour, 45 minutes outside was okay. But what was even more impressive was the people who sat outside and participated because they wanted to be together. They wanted to just have that sense of community, and people who wanted to stay in their cars, that was great too, and they could roll down their windows and wave to each other. So it really accommodated two groups of people in the church being outside like that for 17 months. But we did come inside in November, and that was good too.
That was amazing. Yeah.
Okay, and how is that going?
It's going okay. I think for sure, having been outside for so long, we avoided a lot of conflict. Being in the parking lot, we really did avoid a lot of things. And coming inside, certainly our opinions became and preferences did get brought up to the forefront. And so it's been a good process, but I would be lying if I said it wasn't difficult at times to navigate how that all works and different people's opinions on things. So,
and I think throughout this time there's been so many issues that really have come to the forefront. And so what would you say are some of the major issues that you guys have dealt with in the past couple of years?
One of the things that we really feel like the pandemic has highlighted for smaller churches and churches like Riverside that were predominantly a little bit older when we first started there, where it was that question or those statements that say, well, this is what we've always done, and this is how we've always done it. So we encountered a lot of that at the beginning. And, we really needed to seek the Lord in that and say, God, what are you pushing us in? And where do you want us to lead this church? And so that question, those statements really had to be reevaluated. That was a big first hurdle, I think.
Yeah, and I think that maybe just to jump into that too, the bridge that helped us with that was the mission of Jesus to make disciples. And so bringing everything back to we're wanting to make disciples of Jesus Christ in the best possible ways that we can. That was what enabled us to jump that hurdle. I would also say too, we were extremely blessed. I was extremely blessed with a great leadership team. And so even though we were we had the full spectrum of opinions about COVID and restrictions and all of those things, we were able to remain united as a leadership team in our process. And that really, I think, flowed down. So having a united leadership team around the mission of Jesus, despite how we might feel about things, and also being able to express those opinions to each other in that context was really good and important.
Yeah, and so what are some of the ways too that you created that bridge to unite everybody with love through this season?
Well, coming back to that central purpose and reminding the church of why we're here. And Ryan tackled that right away last year by coming back to like putting these mandates or these pillars in place of, what is the church for?
Right.
Why is the church here? Why has the church spanned 2,000 years? And is still going strong, so what were those core things? And you tackled that right away, and that was really helpful.
Yeah, we did last year look at ecclesiology. What is the church and how does God want it to work? And so what was really cool too was we installed elders for the first time, a plurality of elders. We just had the senior pastor and deacons. And so something that could be really controversial in a small church wasn't at all, as we just went to God's word. And it just, things like that, I think God really used the pandemic in as well. Like, we have to be on mission. Like, we can't be arguing about all of these small things. We've got important work to do. So.
We do, yeah. And speaking of important work, a majority of our viewers and those joining us are volunteering in their local church. And so what's something that you could say to encourage them, especially those that maybe are serving at a smaller church, although anyone can benefit from, I'm sure, the encouragement that you're going to give. But, what would you say?
Well, I would just say thank you for volunteering and for wanting to grow in your volunteering, and you're encouraging your leadership by doing that. And if you can get behind the vision that they cast, however creative or even maybe different than it would be that you want it to be, if you can get behind that and really just thinking about how do we make disciples in this season, that would be just such an encouragement for yourself being a part of it, and also to the leadership and the pastor of your church.
And Hannah.
Yeah, the church is not a person.
No.
The church is an incredible body, whether that's a huge body or a small body. We are the church together, and I love that. And I love how Christ is the head of the body, the head of the church, and how he loves his church. And when we recognize our roles in that and the privilege it is to serve in the body and to serve each other, that, like, it's just amazing how God designed us to work together. We're different. We've got different skills and different gifts. And we need to be using those gifts. If we're sitting back, we're not fulfilling the purpose that God has given us and how he's designed and made us, which is incredible. I mean, right? You said even on Sunday, right? Whether you're folding a bulletin or whether you're an elder of the church, like, each role is so critical.
It is.
And we need each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we need you volunteers. For sure.
Yes.
So true.
Yeah.
Oh, and do you guys have a favorite verse or passage that you'd like to share? I love when I can ask guests this because it's exciting to hear what has inspired them, the way that God has spoken to them, and I think that it just speaks to everyone who is joining us as well.
Yeah, for sure. So through the COVID lows, the COVID troughs, the one thing that God has really spoken and encouraged me from is Genesis 8:22. When he says, "Well, the earth remains, And so here we are, we're on his earth. Well, the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night shall not cease. And so the world is going to keep on spinning until Christ comes back. And so until such a time as that, when Jesus returns, we just have to keep on his mission of making disciples. Nothing else is catastrophic outside of his sovereign will is going to happen. So I've just found so much comfort in that for sure.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and I would go to Hebrews, where we are needing to fix our eyes on Jesus, and we can't lose sight of the cross in any of this, because we need to run our race with perseverance.
Yeah, that's great, guys. Thank you so much for coming on 412 Canada and just sharing your experiences, especially over these past 2 years. And I think it's such a blessing for everybody who will join us and to hear what you guys have gone through, and just to be encouraged that they can keep moving forward and they can keep serving in their churches. And we need to stay on mission and focused on Jesus. So thanks, guys.
Thanks for having us, and for facilitating.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kim.
For those joining us, we hope that you were encouraged and that you're going away fired up to serve in your local church. If you're listening to the audio version of this podcast, remember to subscribe on your podcast app. And for those watching the video edition, subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you don't miss out on an episode. Also, hop onto the discussion by following us on social media. You can find us on 412 Canada on Instagram. Looking forward to next time. Thanks for joining us.